Hello everyone. Thank you for watching the video. Wishing you all good health and peace. The sky hadn't fully brightened yet when thick, heavy clouds began to roll in. The wind whipped hard across the fields, toppling even the banana trees in front of the house. Dieu Han had just woken up but already sensed a storm coming. She quickly went outside to check the house. The chicken coop was loose, the thatched roof creaked and rustled. Then the rain came, sudden and pounding, each drop heavy like it had been hurled from the sky. She dashed into the yard, one hand pulling the tarp over the chicken coop, the other tying it hurriedly to the banana trunk near the house. Gust after gust slammed into the thatched roof, shaking the bamboo frame as if it might rip off entirely. Each time the wind howled, the entire house groaned in protest. Dieu Han couldn't sit still. She grabbed a roll of rope by the door and rushed out again, the rain soaking her completely. With trembling fingers, she wrapped the rope tightly around the support posts of the house, anchoring the other end to a nearby milk fruit tree. One corner at a time she secured the roof, climbing onto stone steps, bending low to thread the rope into gaps, all while battling fierce wind. Her clothes clung to her drenched, her hair stuck to her face in clumps. Rain slapped against her skin like needles, but she clenched her jaw and endured it. The wind kept coming, but the house now held firm. She reinforced it with crisscrossed ropes, pulling the roof down and anchoring it to the ground. When she finished, she stood breathless, body aching, hands bloodied from tugging on sharp bamboo and rough rope. She looked at the hut, still shaky but still standing. Relief bloomed in her chest. After securing the vulnerable spots, she ran to the chicken coop, checked the tin roof, and patched exposed areas with an old sack. By the time she returned inside, her whole body was soaked and freezing, but her eyes stayed steady. She had held the house through the storm. She had protected her and her child's shelter. She laid her baby down, then leaned against the wall. Each breath burned her chest. Dizzy, her skin flushed hot. Her hand touched her forehead, fever. But there was no medicine in the house. No one around. Still, she pulled herself up, grabbed a basket, and headed out to the garden. She picked some lemongrass, lime leaves, and medicinal herbs near the edge of the ditch. Back inside, she lit the fire and boiled water for a steam bath. Hunched over the pot of steaming herbs, wrapped in a blanket, she tried to sweat the fever out. The heat made her sweat drip down her face, but the fever held strong. Just then a voice called out at the gate. It was Ham Yen, the kind woman whose wallet Dieu Han had returned days ago. Wearing a helmet, basket in hand, she entered and found Dieu Han slumped, flushed and weak by the stove. Without a word, she put down the basket. Inside were snacks and milk for the baby, then gently helped Dieu Han to her feet. Looking around the tiny, damp hut with no real bedding, her brow furrowed in concern. "Come home with me. You can't stay here in this condition," she said. Dieu Han nodded weakly, scooped up her child, and followed her onto the motorbike. At Ham Yen's home, she brought them into a small, clean room with the proper bed. She took Dieu Han's temperature, laid a cold towel on her forehead, and took the baby so she could rest. Then she went to the kitchen and began cooking rice porridge with egg, glancing at the clock as she stirred. A while later, she brought up the steaming bowl, gently helped Dieu Han sit up, and fed her spoon by spoon. That night, Dieu Han slept deeply, for the first time in what felt like forever. The next morning, she awoke feeling lighter, her body no longer burning with fever. She stepped outside and followed a small path. From the next room, she heard the sound of a class. Inside, a group of children sat cross-legged on the floor, attentively learning English. A middle-aged teacher stood at the front in a simple button-down shirt, pronouncing each word clearly. "How are you today?" The children replied in unison. Dieu Han stood by the door, her baby in her arms, eyes fixed on the blackboard. The teacher saw her and smiled kindly. "Would you like to join us?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "Come sit with the kids, it's okay," he said warmly. She stepped into the room quietly and sat at the back, her child nestled in her lap. She looked up at the board. Familiar letters once lost to her, now coming back, distant but welcoming. Her eyes shimmered. It had been years since she left school because of poverty. And now, even just auditing a lesson beside a group of children brought a swelling in her chest. In that moment, Dieu Han knew. Life was still hard, full of struggles. But hope had just been lit again. The recent storm had left Dieu Han's vegetable garden in ruins. The plants were crushed, the soil eroded, and pools of water still lingered across the yard. After recovering from her illness, she grabbed a hoe and returned to the garden. With steady hands, she planted new rows of mustard greens, carefully cleared out weeds, loosened the earth, and mounded fresh soil around each stem. Her child lay inside the house, peacefully playing on a new mattress she'd managed to buy. Dieu Han used every brief window of sunshine to restore the garden, the only source of food the two of them could rely on now. As she knelt in the dirt, pulling weeds, a stranger appeared in the village, a neatly dressed woman with a handbag, quietly asking the locals about a bamboo hut where a young mother and her baby lived. No one knew who she was, only that she smiled warmly and had kind eyes. She walked quietly along the forest edge, weaving through the narrow trail that led to Dieu Han's garden. While Dieu Han was busy splitting firewood in the back kitchen, the woman silently stepped into the house. She didn't call out, simply stood there, watching the baby nestled in a blanket. After a moment of hesitation, she stepped into the room, sat gently beside the child, and lifted the baby into her arms. The child blinked awake, didn't cry, just stared at her intently. She smiled, softly stroked his hair, and spoke to him in a quiet, tender voice. Her eyes shimmered with unspoken emotion. Hearing footsteps coming up from the kitchen, she quickly placed the baby back on the mattress, adjusted the blanket, and slipped out like a breeze. Dieu Han never knew anyone had come. Back at her home, the woman sat for a long time beside an old cradle in her room. Then carefully she packed the cradle into a cardboard box, along with a few baby items, and sent them with a neighbor. No name attached, only a note. For the mother and child. That same day, after tidying up the house, Dieu Han headed out again in search of work. Carrying her baby, she wandered through the town center, stopping at every storefront to ask for a job. When she came to a bridal studio, she hesitated but stepped inside to ask if they needed help cleaning. The owner looked at the young woman holding a baby and hesitated. But after hearing Dieu Han's story, she nodded and said yes. She laid her baby down in a corner of the room, picked up a broom, and began sweeping dust from under layers of wedding gowns. She washed dresses by hand, hung them carefully, wiped down mirrors and vanity tables, her hands never resting. The baby played quietly, occasionally babbling for attention. Each time, Dieu Han would rush over to soothe him, then quickly return to work. When she finished, the studio owner paid her a small amount. Dieu Han gratefully thanked her again and again. On the way home, she stopped by the market and bought a small mattress for her child. The two of them, arms full, returned to the hut. Excited, she tore open the plastic wrap, unrolled the mattress, and laid it over the bamboo floor. She placed her baby on the new bedding, and the child beamed with joy. Dieu Han looked at her baby, and her eyes stung with tears. From outside, the same mysterious woman had returned. She stood from afar, watching the small bamboo hut, her gaze warm and soft. She saw Dieu Han arranging things, the baby rolling over, laughing aloud. The woman turned away, walking slowly down the red dirt path, her heart finally at ease, like she had gently unraveled a knot that had been tangled for years. And as for Dieu Han and her child, after so many months of hardship, they finally had a moment of peace in their own little home. But was the storm truly over? Or just quietly retreating before it returned again? Let's keep following Dieu Han's journey to find out.
Cuộc đời là một con đường dài, nơi giấc mơ hòa tan thực tại. Buồng bước chân ta bắt xây dần bức tranh vẽ lên thử thách lớn. Những nỗi đau, niềm vui tạm bợ tạo nên muôn màu sắc cuộc đời. Dù cuộc sống đôi khi thử thách, những đam mê vẫn trực trào cháy. Hãy sống với đam mê cháy bỏng, đừng chờ đợi mà hãy thực hiện những khoảnh khắc quý giá lắm, đừng để thời gian trôi xa. Giữa bộn bề cuộc sống tìm chút bình yên, trong trái tim lặng lẽ nơi còn phiền. Giọt sương mai đọng trên lá xanh, đem lại niềm vui cuộc sống vắng tanh. Ánh sáng mặt trời dọi qua mây, dù mưa giông vẫn đang đong đầy. Trong lòng chứa đầy hy vọng, ngày mai sáng tươi chờ đợi ta. đi trên con đường đầy hoa, dẫu khó khăn không lùi bước. Trong tin